All right, spring training camp 2.0. This is an awesome, exciting launch for the Mountain Toughers that don't know. Spring training camp hasn't been refreshed in a couple years, probably 3 years. I think our latest one that we launched for the spring season was Spring Elite. And so spring was even before that. And now with Mountain Tough, so that listeners know, the idea is that our flagship programs, what we consider a flagship, is the Backcountry Hunter series. We have tons of other phenomenal programs, but for the hunter to train 365 days a year on the seasonality of prepping so that you peak in the fall, that is our Backcountry Hunter series. And so in the Backcountry Hunter series, there's spring, pre, in, and then post. So as a hunter, you can train with gym equipment the same way an NFL athlete is going to train for getting ready for football season so that they peak in season and peak in the playoffs. The idea with the Backcountry Hunter series is if you choose that as your training option, you are going to be in your peak, absolute peak physical condition around September of every year so that you can thrive in the backcountry. And spring has always been a big part of that. We refreshed Postseason recently. That's our latest refresh, and we refreshed preseason last year. So the Backcountry Hunter series will always go through new iterations as we're learning a tremendous amount through our lab testing. So as we test different concepts and theories and modalities in the lab, they're always going to be baked into the new program. And so this is our latest new one for the Backcountry Hunter series, Spring Training Camp 2.0. It's awesome.
I know. It's super exciting. It's going into this, coming off of postseason, even our testing group in the lab, like we were excited to start training like this. Like after coming off postseason, like what feels like the next natural step. And so that's where our heads were at when we wrote this, was how, like, we feel strong, we feel resilient, we feel pretty bulletproof. Now I want to start moving. I want to start testing how I can take this strength and kind of build that inner athlete. So, and start moving quickly, explosively, but also increase that work capacity too. So that was kind of our goal going into programming this 8 weeks.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And we were just talking before hitting record that previously we had the Spring Elite and the Spring Training Camp. With this new refresh that's launching right now, we decided to go with one spring training camp program. So Spring Training 2.0 is a blend of what Mountain Toughers have seen historically with an elite option and the standard option. So now it's all blended into one program. So we're not going to have the elite and the non-elite for spring training anymore. The reason we did that is because the way that this program is designed, you're going to be able to scale that up from beginner, intermediate to elite inside every day's workout, no problem. So that's what we've seen in the lab testing. You're going to see some big barbell thruster days in this program. And so the elites are going to be able to scale that up. And then the beginners are going to be able to scale that down. So no need for two programs anymore like we did historically. So now it's one new 8-week program.
Yep. We've designed it 8 weeks, 5 days a week. So what we have done, we've broke it into 2 different phases. We've got 2 4-week phases. The first phase, we are maintaining 3 designated strength days per week. So, and when I say strength days, they're going to differ a little bit from a postseason strength day. We're going to sprinkle in a little bit of conditioning. We're going to make sure you're ready, you're heated up. So it's going to be kind of a sweaty strength day every time you go into it. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then we have 2 designated conditioning days each week. So one is going to be geared towards heavy carries, and the other is going to be with a sled and core focus. So that is what the first 4 weeks is going to look like. And then we make a shift. We kind of reset gears, and then we shift to 3 conditioning days and 2 strength days. So the reason for that is we don't want to shift immediately into just like a strict conditioning focus. We've worked really hard for that strength over the last 16 weeks in postseason. So let's foster that. Let's take that and see how we can apply it and see what we can do with it. And so we really maintain that the first 4 weeks, and then we shift gears to conditioning before, once you hit preseason prep, I mean, we're going back to an 8-week strength phase. So we're really kind of embracing those ebbs and flows of strength, athleticism, work capacity, resilience in your carries, heavy loads. Phase 2 even has a weekly pack workout, which is really exciting. A lot of people has taken some time off of pack training with postseason. So we're going to start sprinkling that in too.
That's going to be phenomenal. So the pack will be introduced in spring, so you're not just getting blasted by it when you get to preseason prep. And it's a good time for adding that pack training with a lot of people kind of getting out in the outdoors in the spring on different hikes and stuff.
Exactly.
One of my favorite parts around spring training 2.0 for sure is adding some of those power cleans back in. The barbell work is going to stay that you just came off of on postseason strength 2.0. So like Sarah said, the idea is we built a lot of strength in postseason 2.0, and we don't want to lose that. We want to maintain as much of that as possible while increasing our athleticism. So adding those power cleans and the barbell thrusters is noticeably different. How over the 8 weeks, you'll see that the power clean will feel really awkward at first because we weren't doing them, but how they quickly become more comfortable, and you'll see your power come up, which that power component as a holistic athlete is super important. Even as a backcountry hunter, we still need to make sure that we're maintaining strength as we get older, but also power is super important.
Right. And it's really kind of cool. So we've really programmed the power cleans to kind of ensure that you start relatively light and explosive. So we've placed them in kind of a barbell vertical setting for phase 1. So that load that you're using for your power clean is going to be dictated by what you can squat thrust. So we really get you back in the groove of the movement first before we're like load, right? And then we slowly, we're going to progress those power cleans through the full 8 weeks. So things you're going to see in spring training that maybe we took a slight step away from in postseason are power cleans. We're getting barbell squat thrusters back in there. We're going to bring back some barbell back squats. We're going to shift gears for our deadlifts to a Romanian deadlift progression versus just our typical conventional or sumo, which I think is a perfect addition because it's 8 weeks. It's great to kind of shift focus to really building those hamstrings and glutes to help facilitate that growth in your conventional deadlift that you'll see in phase 1 of preseason. So we're RDLing. We're still going to focus on weighted chin up and pull up progressions. We, once again, the barbell vertical sets is, you're going to see that on week 1, day 1.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people it's going to be a shock to the system, but there is intention behind like where we start with you and where we take you.
Yeah.
And that's really fun. And another thing we've learned from postseason is the feedback on the primal days.
Yeah.
Right.
People love them.
People loved them. I loved them. I think because they were meant to get the body moving in a way that it wants to move. Right. And, the way we Americans live our lives is not that way.
Yeah.
So to shift back to crawling, carrying, and really focusing on just loading the system and moving that around in a cumbersome, awkward way. Like I said, we're going to go back quadruped positions, bear crawling, loaded bear crawls here in spring training. we kind of took all the good things that we really loved from postseason and kind of kept them going.
Yeah.
And then introduced, once again, all of those big compound lifts that we took a little bit of time off of. So you're going to get a whole new collection of things here in spring training. So that's what makes it exciting to program for me and to, and it's fun, 8 weeks. It's like you can hit anything for 8 weeks. You can make a lot of progress, but you don't get sick of anything.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully you guys will appreciate that, so to speak. Yeah.
Especially with 2 phases, it flies by. So you go 4-week phase 1, 4-week phase 2,
right?
And then you'll be right into preseason. The primal days are awesome in this program, like the sandbag Zercher carry, the med ball front carry. It's all the stuff that is going to have you functionally ready for anything. And so using that strength you built from postseason and then turning it into kind of that farmer strength, that real life strength for like our tactical athletes, the primal days are so ideal for a lot of stuff they're doing. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I think it's worth noting that when we went to write these strength days, like I mentioned, we're sprinkling in a little bit of conditioning on each strength day, just in your buy-ins. So you're going to be really sweaty when you go to move those big barbells around. But we've also really utilized some good tempo training. So you're going to see a lot of EMOMs and E90s and every 2 minutes. So what you're doing is you're using all that good strength, but we're just pushing your tempo just a little bit faster. And that's how we are looking to increase your work capacity. Like I can move heavy load pretty quick, right? So we've decreased those rest intervals compared to postseason. And so we're going to get a lot done in a little amount of time. We are combining big barbell lifts with accessory movements, explosive med ball work. So no lift is a true basic strength day.
Yeah.
Every day you're going to be moving like an athlete. Every day you're going to be moving you're going to be worked head to toe, but it's spring training. It's meant to be a mentally challenging program and to kind of push you to the brim where you show up the next day and you're like, I don't know if I can do it. And then you do it and you're like, I just crushed that.
Yeah.
So, and we designed that very intentionally, like the flow through the week to make sure, you're going to be feeling it, but there's method behind the madness. I know that phrase is overused a lot, but every progression has intention behind it.
Yeah, that's definitely the big difference people will notice between postseason and spring is the postseason strength days where you're going to do upper body strength movement, rest, do some lower body strength movement, rest. In spring, that exactly like you said is going to switch gears to where you're working off the clock, and then we might throw in a dynamic movement after 2 compound lifts, and then you have to get it all done in a minute and then go again, or 90 and go again.
Right.
And those ones they shock the system at first coming out of postseason, but that's what we want. We want you to use that strength and then turn it into more of a real life scenario, because in the real world, sitting and resting for 2 minutes between any sort of activity is not going to happen. And I remember week 1 going into that first EMOM, the first time of testing, and we were just blasted from that one.
Yeah, it was like we just felt like we were chasing our tail. And I think that's why in each phase, you're going to see the first 3 weeks out of the 4-week phase, you're going to see that consistency in the strength days and the EMOMs and E90s. And you're going to learn how to navigate it a little bit better. You're like, okay, I know when to grab that heavier weight. Like maybe I shouldn't be, so we've prescribed RPE, so rate of perceived exertion. It's very important to abide by those because they're meant to start somewhere and they're meant to end somewhere. So if you start too much, your intervals are going to be affected. So especially bringing back the back squats and the RDLs, like these are all movements we haven't done for quite a bit. So just recognize, like, conquer the movement, and then don't worry. Like, you're going to have time to progress this, like, for over the course of 3 and 4 weeks, for each phase. Yeah. So it's, it gets sneaky is what I'm trying to say. And you're like, there's no way I can get this done in this interval. I'm like, yes, you can. You just got to keep moving and keep pushing, but it's supposed to push you to your max capacity.
Yeah, especially that first time. It's a wake-up call.
Yeah.
And then a lot of cardio sprints, a lot of short.
Yeah.
We have some short runs, some shorter ski sprints, shorter bike sprints. So cardio is going to come up, but it's not the full 45-minute cardio endurance day like you'll see in some preseason workouts.
Right.
You're going to see a lot more of that sprint activity.
So that's what's really cool. So shifting to phase 2. So you're going to see 3, what I would consider conditioning days, like conditioning being a broad term, right? Mm-hmm. So our goal is different in each of those 3 conditioning days. We have our 2 designated strength days, Monday, Thursday. Tuesday is going to be what I call mountain tough conditioning, right? So that's going to be, we've really dove into some 30-second efforts, right? So shorter intervals, pushing that 9 out of 10 RPE, that 10 out of 10 RPEs. And then we've mixed it with some steady, longer sled effort. So we're going to be taxing a bunch of different energy systems on Tuesdays. Wednesday is what I would consider more of our sustained effort cardio, longer intervals on the bikes. So you're having to kind of maintain that same heart rate, give or take a little bit throughout that 45-minute to 60-minute workout on Wednesdays, not meant to tear you up, core focus so that we can make the most out of that Thursday strength day. Mm-hmm. Phase 2, Fridays will now be your heavy carry day, and we're throwing in the pack. Yeah. So not only are we going to be carrying heavy load, but we're going to have it on our back, in our hands, out in front of us. We're going to be pushing the sled, pulling the sled with our pack on. So we're just we're adding a whole new element to the carry day. We're throwing it on our back and then doing all the same stuff. So that's how we've progressed that. So your weekly flow is going to be a little bit different. Once again, 2 designated strength days, 3 conditioning, all with different purpose and drive. So, and that's what's really exciting. We're going to challenge you with your grip variations. We're going to challenge your tempos. We have some partial to full reps. We have 3-count pause reps, high-low rack Bulgarians, wink, wink. Those are going to put some hair on your chest. We're keeping up with the farmer. We're going farmer holds versus carries. So we're going to really have some heavy weight in your hands.
Yeah, those were cool.
Yeah, some weighted bear crawls. We've even got a body weight lunge, high volume progression in phase 2 where you're getting into some very high rep counts for your walking lunges by week 8. But it's just fun. We've got a couple conditioning workouts. Chop Suey is my personal favorite of the program.
Good. Yeah.
It's just a mix of everything. Mm-hmm. It's 30-second efforts, long sled pulls and pushes. You guys, if you hit the spring training start to finish, I honestly feel like there's nothing I can't do. Mm-hmm. You're like, I can go hard for 30 seconds. I can also sustain for an hour. I can also lift that heavy barbell. I can thrust it over my head explosively. So that's what we kind of just want to be the jack of all trades after spring training. Yep. And then we hit preseason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Preseason, we dial it in and sharpen it more specifically for a backcountry hunt.
Correct.
Over a long period of time. And we know Spring Training Camp 2.0 is perfect for the hunter that's going in between post and pre. But if someone's not a hunter and they just want to dive into Spring Training Camp 2.0, who do you think of that this would be ideal for? Who would this work well for?
I think anybody that is looking to, anybody that's coming off any sort of strength program where they feel that they need to work on just their general strength conditioning. So muscular endurance, that your heart rate is going to be elevated every single day of this program. Once again, there is intention behind that. Some days you're going to be moving more weight. Some days you're just working with mostly body weight movements. But I think it's for somebody that if they're climbing up a mountain and their heart rate is getting the best of them and their legs are burning more than they should, this is going to build that mental toughness, and this is going to build that total body muscular endurance and conditioning by week 8. Now, the ideal way to go into this program is to feel resilient and strong, because that's how you can maximize this program. Is you're strong enough to move this good weight around. You have strong movement patterns. We've worked on hip health. We've worked on shoulder health. We've worked on everything in postseason. Now it's time to apply it and execute.
Yeah.
Right. And then once again, preseason is going to reintegrate all of that hip health and everything. But this is kind of like that fun 8-week, let's take time to do these accessory and variation movements to help make the most of post or pre.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. That makes perfect sense. And it is common. A lot of people are going to feel this. If you think about the military athlete, the tactical athlete, the first responder, or if you think about anyone who's hit the gym routinely, most individuals have gone through that feeling where they've done a lot of strength training, pure strength training, and you come out of that and you feel like a little big, a little slow.
Right.
And most people with some lifting experience have felt that. And then Spring Training Camp 2.0 is the perfect program to get you out of that feeling. So feeling too bulky, too slow, we are going to take that strength and now we're going to really hammer on that power, athleticism. The primal days are really going to get you moving like an athlete again. And so I totally understand, because I think most lifters have felt that before, where it's like, I'm strong, but I really need to like sharpen myself so that I am ready for anything.
I think that's a good way to put it. Like for Mountain Tough, we want to be everything. We want to be athletic. We want to be conditioned. We want to be strong. We want to be resilient. We want to be everything. But sometimes we have to pick and choose, right? Our seasons, obviously. And I think spring training provides that little glimpse of being everything. If that makes sense. If you come into it in the appropriate condition, strong and resilient, and then you go in to preseason knowing we're about to build lower body strength endurance. We're going to build strength and then get you into your high volume work, taking care of all the joints. The purpose of preseason to stay strong day after day in the mountains. Well, this is like that 8 weeks where I'm like, I am moving good weight. I am jumping high. I am carrying heavy loads. I'm hitting 1/4-mile sprints faster than I ever have. I mean, we're running, we're biking, we're jumping, we're power cleaning, we're carrying heavy med balls, we're carrying heavy dumbbells, we're carrying heavy sandbags. We're kind of hitting everything. So I think this would be a really fun program for anybody that, is coming off a pure strength program or just kind of wants to do a little bit of everything when it comes to the kinetic chain. I think it's a good mix, and we've had some really fun structures in here too. The conditioning workouts are quite the emotional journey for some of them. So
there's a couple emotional ones in there too, where you might cry.
Beef jerky, another one of my favorites. We've got chop suey, turbine. Yep. When they're named, that they made an impact here on testing, our testing group. So.
And it's so awesome, because I think that for the hunter that wants to feel phenomenal in September or October in the backcountry, you have to start building that feeling now. And that is like a really unique approach for a lot of people. And we're encouraging, and we have been with Mountain Tough since the beginning, that the best day to start, there's like an old saying that says like the best day to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best day to plant a tree is today. So like if you already missed the starting time, let's say you missed postseason 2.0, then still the best place to start is right now, Spring Training Camp 2.0. Because what we don't want you to do is, you have this epic adventure coming up in September, we don't want you to start training in July or August.
Correct.
So everything that you're doing now on that kind of 365-day training cycle is getting you prepared for something amazing that's going to happen down the road. And so, don't wait. Start. If you missed postseason, start with spring. The best day to start is always now, because all of these things make a huge difference. And the more that you do them and the more that you see them, your muscle maturity starts kicking in, your neural recruitment starts kicking in. The sooner we can have that happen, the better. And spring training camp is a phenomenal way to do that, so that you're staying on this life cycle of, I'm going to train well all year long. I am going to change my block so that it's different styles at different times. But this specific one is built around a season, and that season being the fall, where we want you at your peak, absolute peak performance for a specific mission. And that mission is, heavy packs, multiple days, high elevation. And so we have to build the system up to that point. And so missing these steps just makes you not thrive as much in the backcountry, but putting these steps into practice now will completely change the game. But for listeners out there, for a lot of people, it is a new perspective. For Mountain Toughers, it's not, because we've been preaching this message since the beginning. But you can't wait to July to train for September. You got to be training 365 days a year for your sport, year after year after year. And that's going to get you out of like a training roller coaster. So if this is a new message for you and you are brand new to Mountain Tough and to the podcast, and you did not complete postseason, if you did not complete postseason, we're going to want you to start spring training camp 2.0. We're probably going to encourage you to do gym foundation first. So, knock out gym foundation and then go ahead and get into spring training camp 2.0. And then you'll be right back with us in preseason prep 2.0. And then you'll be on that 365-day cycle training with gym equipment as a backcountry hunter. But that's hands down the best way to do it, is to not take these big breaks through the calendar year.
Right. And just to reiterate, like spring training, we're using all equipment that you guys would find in a traditional commercial gym. So we do require a variety of med balls, sandbags if you have access to those, cable machines, obviously squat rack, barbells, plates, things like that. So this has been such a fun process to redo spring training camp and approach it as, okay, we need to combine spring elite and spring training. So we need to have it be, take from those programs what we know people loved, which was just like that kind of out of body spirit world style workouts every once in a while, but we have to apply it in a very like intentional, smart way so that people feel primed and ready and like ready to go for preseason, because preseason prep 2.0 is the ultimate program to get you ready for hunting season. And to go into it post spring training camp 2.0, you're going to be an animal. An animal.
Yeah.
I think that's what's exciting about it, is like if you're going into it strong and conditioned, like postseason spring training, then nothing's going to stop you after that 16 weeks of preseason prep.
Yeah. Your foundation will be so solid coming in.
Yeah.
So if you just came off postseason 2.0, dive into spring training camp 2.0. If you missed postseason and you just did your own or someone else's strength program, you can dive right into spring training camp 2.0. If you've been on the couch for a while or your training hasn't been consistent, do on-ramp and then gym foundation, and then just go right into spring training camp 2.0 and try to catch back up with us at preseason prep. I'm stoked. I'm excited for people to get going.
Yeah. And one last little note, guys, with spring training camp 2.0, and we followed a similar suit in postseason, we hesitate to prescribe strict percentages off of 1, 2, or 3 rep maxes for these programs because people's ability to perform power cleans and back squats and RDLs and deficit barbell reverse lunges, it varies so widely when it comes to your ability level, your strength, your body weight, your experience level with the movement. So I really want to reiterate paying attention to that RPE prescription. And that is going to be different for every single person. You could have a 150-pound male come in and be power cleaning very different than a 250-pound male. So that's why we don't establish a 3-rep max or a 1-rep max. But if you're coming off postseason, you should have generally an idea of how much you can move generally, but just know that this is going to be a faster tempo than that. So if you need any guidance with that, just make sure to reach out to us here at Mountain Tough, and we can help kind of point you in the right direction. But pay attention to those RPEs. Also, make sure you're hitting those warm-up sets to kind of get a gauge of where those RPEs are load-wise. So I think that's important. A lot of people want those perfect prescriptions of what weight they should be using. We always give weight suggestions, but abilities, strength, experience, all dictates how much load you're going to move in a program like this.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, everyone get in there and get going. It is, if you're listening to this, it is live now in Mountain Tough Plus in the app. So get in there and knock it out. It is the ideal bridge between post and pre. And, we talked a lot with Postseason 2.0 launch that as we refresh these programs, it ends up being several years of kind of R&D when a program goes live. So when we're lab testing every day in Bozeman at noon with our athletes, all the different concepts, methodologies are baked into this program. So you're going to see a lot of new stuff that we're excited for you guys to dive into.
I think we're on like our 3rd round of testing this. So some of these workouts, guys, are very well tested. We're putting in our due diligence, guys.
Thoroughly tested.
All right. Good luck, Mountain Tough. We're so excited to hear how you guys love Spring Training Camp 2.0. Reach out with any questions or if you need any guidance.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah.
All right.